Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Deathray here, and man, oh man, what a week for horror fans it has been. After years of production and hard work, Dylan's new nightmare is finally out there for all of us to enjoy. Now, if you've been to my channel before, you may have noticed that my very first video is a spoiler-free review of Dylan's new nightmare after I caught the advanced screening at Mad Monster back in July. But this time, it's gonna be different. We are gonna get more in depth. We will talk spoilers, so please, if you have not seen the film yet, click the link in the description below. Go check it out. Hell, watch it 2 or 3 times. I found that the third time I watched it, I was catching things I didn't see before and had a whole new appreciation of it, especially seeing it here in stunning 4K on the 75-inch screen. It really gives you a new appreciation for how well it's shot, how well it sounds, and the high level of production quality we have here. And after you've watched it a few times and let it all soak in, why not follow the link in the description below to the Finishing Funds campaign for the film? There you can pick up great perks like Blu-rays, posters, t-shirts, signed photographs, a whole bunch of great stuff there so you can show your support for these filmmakers. So Dylan's New Nightmare is a follow-up to Wes Craven's New Nightmare from 1994, and we're picking up right there around 30 years after the events of that film. Dylan is a working actor, following in the footsteps of his parents, being in the entertainment industry, and although he is working through that childhood trauma, you can tell that there's something or someone in the recesses of his mind that just will not allow him to let it go. As the film opens up, we get these shots of the Los Angeles area, and along with it, this really ominous, unsettling sound of Freddy breathing, and it just sort of builds and builds until we get to his classic laugh. Now, I noticed that the filmmakers keep on bringing the sound of the breathing back in, sort of like, you know, a chorus in a song, where it's just this reminder that he's always there. And what it made me realize after seeing the film a handful of times is Freddy's not just trying to get inside Dylan's head, he's trying to get in ours too. Right from the jump here with the opening scene of Dylan at the audition, it becomes very apparent just how visually stunning this film is. Seeing it at Mad Monster was great, Gathering of the Ghouls even better to check out the finished cut. You know, but both of those were on projectors, and even though the experience was awesome, there's just something about sitting down at home, checking it out on the 75-inch screen, and seeing it in 4K. You know, it gave me a whole new level of appreciation for what Cecil and the rest of the team did here. You know, the director comes to the table with a vision, and from there, they're relying on the cinematographer to capture that vision. This time around, we have Ben Meredith, who just knocks it out of the park. The composition, the creativity, whether we're in a dream sequence or even the scene with the therapist. You know, he really finds a way to bring us back into that world that Wes created with New Nightmare. And of course, you can't talk about the directing and cinematography without mentioning the editing. Tom Newell puts together the cut here, and he does a fantastic job. The pacing, when to cut, when not to cut, which actually might be the most important part. It all plays such a vital role in how well the film is ultimately gonna work. We're really fortunate here to have Cecil bring that vision, then we've got Ben to capture it, and then passing it off to Tom that puts it all together and gives us that finished product. You know, it's like they say, it's all in the edit. So getting back to the audition scene, we've got Ron Sloan as the casting director. Us horror fans, we know Ron as Junior from Friday the 13th, Part 5. My favorite part of that film is that dynamic between Ethel and Junior. Those characters just crack me up to no end. In fact, there are a lot of days here in the Deathray household where Kate or myself will yell to the other, "You hear me, Junior?" I just think those characters are hilarious, and Ron, you know, here he gets a lot to work with in his scene. You know, there's a whole bunch of juice there that he can squeeze out of the performance, and he certainly does. Very expressive, and once the scene goes full on dream sequence, man, you can tell he's having a lot of fun doing the lip syncing with Dave's Freddy voice here. He just really lets it go. It is awesome to see a veteran performer come into a role like this, and just kind of like bear it all. Again, another example of these legacy actors and legacy characters coming back to horror. It's great to see, and it actually leads into my biggest compliment of the film, which is the performances. We've got Miko Hughes returning to the franchise after almost 30 years away. And if you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you were sure to see Miko all over the place. Whether it was Pet Sematary, Kindergarten Cop, a whole bunch of episodes of Full House, and of course, can't forget Mercury Rising. What a performance in that film. But I just hadn't seen him in quite some time, so I really didn't know what to expect. But his chops are really damn good here, and he is very impressive. And I'm not just talking about his physique, but man, he is jacked in this film. It looks like he could play Wolverine. I saw Barry from Wolfman's Got Nards had mentioned that, and I was like, yep, totally agree. There are a lot of emotional moments for Dylan, and what Miko brings as far as just a subtle look or a nuanced expression is huge here. In these emotional scenes, there's not always a whole bunch of dialogue that lets you know what the character is thinking, and it's really great to see that come through on the actor's face. Like at the end of the film when he gets that call from Heather, and you got that tear going down his face, and it just ends. And it's funny, like a lot of people that have complained about the film have said that it's too short, but I think when that ending comes, I just want more, and to me it's kind of like a proof of concept there. And big shout out to Deandra from Captain Sassy Media for her portrayal as Heather Langenkamp on the phone. I legitimately thought that was actually Heather, especially seeing it at Mad Monster. I had no idea until you got the shout out during the Q&A, so way to go, Deandra, you did an excellent job. And another Friday the 13th alum makes an appearance here in the film in Cynthia Cania, who was in Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. You'll remember her as one half of the couple that decided to go on a very late night picnic and met a grim end at Jason's hands. And here she's playing opposite Miko as Dylan's therapist, and I really like this scene a lot. There is some expositional dialogue, but usually that can come off really clunky in a film or TV show. I've seen it a lot of times where, you've got a couple characters, maybe they're just friends talking, and one will be like, well, why don't you just get over the thing that happened 2 years and 2 months ago? And it just kind of comes off like ham-fisted. So, credit to Cecil here for doing a great job with the writing. The expositional dialogue here builds the foundation for everything we need to know for the rest of the story. Not even just this chapter, but if the story continues, this is pertinent information here. And, on top of that, it is properly motivated. It seems completely natural that from what he dealt with as a kid, that he would have a therapist as an adult and need to work these things out. So really great job here writing Cecil, and great performances by Cynthia and Miko as well. All right, my fellow McCrazies, it's time to get into Dave McRae's portrayal as Freddy Krueger. These Elm Street films, a lot of them hinge on how you feel about Freddy, whether it's the quality of the makeup or the quality of the writing, if Freddy's too silly for you or not silly enough. How you feel about Freddy is kind of how you're gonna feel about the film. And here, I think Dave brings such a well-measured performance to Freddy. He's menacing, he's creepy, he's really funny without going over the top, and he brings this physicality that's so reminiscent to the character, paying tribute to Robert without doing an imitation. There are just these little flares here and there where you're just like, oh my gosh, that's Freddy. Particularly, I really like that first shot of Freddy where the camera is panning up and you see he's kind of like finding his shape again. He's shaking off the dust, literally with a great sound design moment when he flicks that glove down his sweater. It's like an animal that's molted and is getting used to its new skin, and it's a great moment. What Dave brings here is full range. It's physical, it's the voice, and we'll talk about the makeup because, man, I kept on trying to see Dave in that face because I've been watching him on YouTube for about 6 years now, and I cannot see him in there. Like, to me, that is full on Freddy. And the writing here for Freddy, oh my gosh, it is like Every single line is an absolute Freddy classic. The writing from Cecil, the delivery from Dave, it just makes this iteration of Freddy one of my favorites, and one of the big reasons why I kept on wanting to rewatch the film. I just wanted to get every single one of those juicy moments as many times as I could. Now that we've talked about Canada's greatest gift to YouTube, it's time to give praise to the artists that helped bring Freddy to life. Nora Hewitt with the makeup and Mikey Rotella with the sculpting work do a fantastic job, and their Freddy looks awesome. Especially if you're a fan of Freddy's Revenge, you are going to love this take. We got that classic wet look. Whenever you see Dave's profile, the nose matches up so well. And then the costume folks did a great job because that look is akin to New Nightmare. So we get that blending of the classic Freddy with that kind of newer look from New Nightmare. And in addition to the makeup, the costume department really did their homework too. The look is very akin to Wes Craven's New Nightmare with the big overcoat and even the gloves, so it's really cool to see the blending of those two worlds where we're getting that earlier version of Freddy and then the final version that Wes tackled back in 1994. Shout out to Courtney Fischel, the costume supervisor. Courtney, it was great chatting with you and Alex and Fuego at Gathering of the Ghouls, and it was really cool to be able to, watch the film a few more times and get to see your work on display. Now, being a guy with an audio background, there's no way I can leave out the folks who did the sound design and the music here. First off, the sound design is really cool. You've got those awesome low frequency stings, especially when Freddy is around. I already mentioned when he wipes off his sweater there on his first appearance. And then, of course, anytime the knives are in action, I would imagine that's the sound design folks as well. And it all comes off really well, sounds very professional. And the music is really cool too. There's a bit that kind of made me crack up with the bossa nova, like elevator music on the phone when Dylan is on hold with the psychiatric hospital that I think a lot of people in the audience, I heard a whole bunch of chuckling, so I'm not the only one that gets a kick out of a little elevator music, as long as it's well timed. And then you've got a couple really great songs from Nancy and the Nightmares. You've got Running from This Dream Warrior, which they have a music video out for, so check the link in the description below for that. And then we've got the Wicked one with a pretty killer rap song at the end called New Nightmare to close it out. So really great music and sound design all around that's very fitting and really helps sell what we're seeing on the screen. Guys, that is gonna wrap it up for my review of Dylan's New Nightmare. I had a lot of fun with this film, seeing it back at Mad Monster at the advanced screening, checking it out at Gathering of the Ghouls, and then getting to watch it here at home a handful of times in preparation for the review. I just seem to like it more and more every time. I highly recommend it to Nightmare on Elm Street fans especially, horror fans of course, and even if you're just a fan of independent film, to see what's possible without a studio backing you up. And as you guys get to know me a little bit better here and the channel continues to grow, you'll learn that I'm a huge Halloween fan. Michael Myers is my boy. And I also really love Friday the 13th as well. I feel like I could put on any film in that franchise and have a really good time with it. But I'm a relatively casual A Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I really like the first few films, and I love Wes Craven's New Nightmare. So, maybe this fan film was tailor-made for somebody like me. I had a great time watching it. Hats off to the film crew in front of and behind the camera. Everyone did a great job, and I can't wait to check out the next chapter. So what did you guys think of Dylan's New Nightmare? Hop in the comments below and let me know. I'd love to get the conversation going there and hear what each and every one of you thought. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button. If you really enjoyed it, why don't you go over to the channel, check out some other videos, give us a subscribe. I just released an interview with Cecil and Vincent DeSanti from Gathering of the Ghouls that was a lot of fun. They go into the background of the filmmaking process, and had a great time with those guys. Of course, you can also check out the links in the description below to watch the film, go to the Finishing Funds campaign and pick up a perk, and check out that Nancy and the Nightmares video. Thanks again, guys, for coming by. We'll see you next time.